Emily tightened her scarf as the cold Chicago wind whipped across the street. Her shift at the diner had just ended, and all she wanted was to get her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, home to their tiny apartment. The sidewalks were busy, filled with people rushing to warm restaurants and cars. Emily carried her worn-out purse, while Lily held her hand tightly. They had walked this route so many times, but tonight felt different. Emily was tired, but she pushed forward, whispering to Lily that they would heat some soup and read her favorite bedtime story when they got home. As they passed a row of expensive restaurants, Emily noticed a sleek black luxury car parked out front. It caught her eye not because of its shine, but because she saw a man stumble near it. At first, she thought he was just drunk, like many of the men she saw at night after leaving her shift. But then he collapsed, hitting the ground hard. Emily froze for a moment, clutching Lily's hand, her heart racing. Something inside her told her this wasn't just exhaustion. Something was terribly wrong. Emily quickly handed her purse to Lily, telling her to hold it tight and stay close. She rushed to the man lying on the sidewalk. His face was pale, his lips beginning to turn blue, and his chest rose and fell in shallow, irregular breaths. People around gasped, some pulled out their phones, but no one stepped forward to help. Emily's hands shook, but her instincts took over. She knelt down, pressing 2 fingers to his neck. The pulse was weak, fading. She knew she had only seconds to act. "Call 911!" Emily shouted to the bystanders, her voice strong and urgent. A woman nearby fumbled with her phone, dialing frantically. Emily tilted the man's head back, checking his airway, and then began chest compressions. She had learned CPR years ago at a community center class, never thinking she would actually need it. Her palms pressed down hard on his chest, 1, 2, 3, 4, counting steadily. Sweat trickled down her forehead, mixing with the cold air, but she didn't stop. Lily clutched her bag, eyes wide with fear, whispering, "Mummy, is he going to be okay?" Emily's heart broke hearing her daughter's trembling voice, but she didn't let it distract her. "He's going to be okay, sweetie. Mommy's helping him," she said firmly, keeping her rhythm. She leaned down and gave 2 breaths, then continued compressions. The man's body twitched slightly, but his eyes remained closed. The sound of sirens wailed faintly in the distance, but Emily knew every second mattered. People around were frozen, some filming on their phones, but Emily ignored them all. This man's life depended on her, a single mom with nothing but courage and love for life. The minutes dragged on like hours. Emily's arms ached, but she refused to give up. She kept pumping his chest, whispering encouragement to herself. Finally, the paramedics rushed in, pushing through the crowd with equipment. One of them gently pulled Emily aside, saying, "You did great. We'll take it from here." Emily staggered back, breathless, her knees trembling. She reached for Lily, hugging her tightly as they both watched. The paramedics attached monitors, gave oxygen, and worked quickly. Within moments, the man's heartbeat was stable again, though he remained unconscious. Emily's chest rose and fell with relief. As they lifted him onto the stretcher, one of the paramedics turned to Emily and said, "If you hadn't started CPR when you did, he wouldn't have made it. You saved his life." The words hit her like a wave. She glanced at Lily, who was clinging to her side, eyes shining with both fear and pride. Emily had never thought of herself as a hero. She was just a tired mom, doing her best to survive each day. But tonight, she had changed someone's fate forever. And little did she know that man was someone who would soon change hers too. The next morning, Emily didn't think much more about the man she had helped. She woke early, got Lily ready for school, and prepared herself for another long shift at the diner. Her arms were still sore from the chest compressions, and she felt exhausted, but there was a strange sense of peace inside her. She had done something that mattered. As she walked Lily to school, she kissed her forehead and promised she'd pick her up on time. Little did she know, her life was about to be turned upside down. At the diner, Emily tied her apron and got to work, serving coffee and wiping down tables. The usual crowd of regulars filled the booths, and the smell of frying bacon and brewed coffee hung in the air. Everything seemed normal until the bell above the door chimed. Emily looked up and froze. There, standing in the doorway, was the man she had saved. He looked healthier now, dressed in an expensive tailored suit, his sharp features no longer pale. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Emily's breath caught in her throat. He walked straight toward her booth. The whole diner seemed to pause as he approached. Emily nervously tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and forced a smile. You're okay," she said softly. The man nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. "Thanks to you. I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for you." His voice was deep, steady, and filled with sincerity. Emily's co-workers watched in curiosity, whispering among themselves. No one had ever walked into their small diner looking like that before. "I wanted to thank you properly," he continued, taking a seat at one of the booths. "My name is Daniel Hayes." Emily nearly dropped the coffee pot she was holding. She knew that name. Daniel Hayes was the CEO of one of Chicago's largest real estate firms, a man whose face she had seen on billboards downtown, smiling confidently beside tall skyscrapers. Emily swallowed hard, feeling completely out of place in her worn uniform, her cheeks flushing red. I didn't know," she stammered. Daniel leaned forward, his eyes steady on hers. "You didn't need to know. You just acted. You saved me without hesitation. People with far more resources than you stood by and did nothing. But you were brave." Emily felt her chest tighten at his words. She glanced down at the floor, not used to praise, and said quietly, "Anyone would have done the same." Daniel shook his head gently. "No, Emily, not everyone would." For a moment, silence filled the space between them, carrying more weight than words ever could. Over the next few weeks, Daniel kept showing up at the diner. At first, Emily thought it was just gratitude, but soon it became clear he enjoyed being around her. He asked questions about her life, listened when she talked about Lily, and even cracked jokes that made her laugh in ways she hadn't in years. Slowly, Emily realized she was looking forward to seeing him. Lily too grew attached to him, often asking when Mr. Daniel would come by again. Their lives began to intertwine in ways Emily never expected. One evening, Daniel asked Emily and Lily to join him for dinner at a nice restaurant. Emily hesitated, feeling self-conscious, but Daniel reassured her with a warm smile. That night, as they sat together in the soft glow of the restaurant lights, Emily noticed the way he looked at her, not as someone beneath him, but as someone equal, someone who mattered. It made her heart flutter in a way she thought she'd forgotten. For the first time in years, Emily allowed herself to dream of something more than just survival. By the end of the night, Daniel walked Emily and Lily home, his steps slow, as if he didn't want the evening to end. At her doorstep, he looked into her eyes and said softly, "Emily, you saved my life in more ways than one. You gave me a reason to see the world differently, to value the people who truly care." Emily's heart swelled, tears threatening to fall. She realized then that this wasn't just a bond of gratitude. It was something deeper, something she hadn't believed she'd ever find again. True love had come when she least expected it.